Let's ride.
This is being called a once-in-a-generation storm. The threat of heavy snow, ice, and dangerously high winds has already prompted some states to declare a state of emergency.
This is really a very serious weather alert here. And it goes from Oklahoma all the way to Wyoming and Wyoming to Maine. And it's a real consequence. So I encourage everyone, please heed the local warning.
The severe weather has disrupted holiday plans for millions of Americans. Frustration looms as thousands of flights have been cancelled.
Every year we try to spend Christmas or Thanksgiving or something like that together, just, to keep the family connected. So it's really important.
And many of those staying home are bracing for record-breaking cold temperatures.
If you're not bundled up, if you don't have gloves, a hat, a nice pair of boots, probably some unders, some long johns or whatnot, you will be cold.
The storm is sweeping through the central United States and heading east. Forecasters warn millions more will face harsh weather in the coming days.
Matthew Capucci is a meteorologist based in Washington, D.C. Matthew, just how bad is this storm?
So this storm is bad for many different reasons. Number one, it's a bombogenetic cyclone, or a bomb cyclone. Basically a storm that's rapidly intensifying to the point that it vacuums in air from all different sides. Now on the eastern side, up and down the eastern seaboard, i.e. Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, those areas are seeing a lot of rainfall, up to about 5 or 6 centimeters, and very strong winds in New England gusting upwards of 90 kilometers per hour. So that's high impact up there. And we'll also see a flash freeze tomorrow, which would cause major issues on the roadways. Off to the west, on the backside of the system, frigid Siberian air is wrapping down the backside, with temperatures falling back to about minus 40 or lower Celsius. And again, that's Celsius, so very impressive stuff, with wind chills of minus 50 Celsius. In between, the two air masses clash, you get snow, and with the wind, blizzard conditions. So a travel nightmare for the roughly 110 million Americans set to travel about 80 kilometers or more this holiday.
How dangerous is it when temperatures drop that low?
Well, when temperatures get that low, it's to the point where the human body can't really function unless they're inside a shelter. So one of the big pieces of advice we've been giving folks is that if they're driving, have an emergency kit in the car. You simply can't survive these kind of temperatures if you're not prepared. All it takes is your vehicle to break down. If first responders can't get to you, things could become very problematic very quickly. So it's imperative folks have a way to sort of have a backup plan. So that's something we're watching right now.
Should people be venturing out at all?
Ideally, no, and that's for many different reasons. On the eastern seaboard, we briefly alluded to that flash freeze. Temperatures will go from, I'd say, 3 or 4 degrees Celsius with rainfall to suddenly like 3 or 4 below 0 Celsius with ice. And so all the roadways tomorrow will freeze up and down the East Coast, causing very dangerous travel. Farther west, where the temperatures are bitterly low, as we talked about, very dangerous to travel. And in between, where you're getting snow, visibilities may only be a couple hundred meters at best. So that's dangerous to drive. And of course, the airport's seeing issues as well. Chicago and Detroit, both major hubs impacted by the snowfall. Up to 2,000 flights already canceled. It'll get worse before it gets better.
Are authorities prepared for this, would you say?
I do believe they are. So we saw this coming at least, I'd say, 6 or 7 days in advance. We knew the overall pattern was favorable for a storm. I think one of the things that we're wondering about authority-wise is whether Texas can handle the cold temperatures. Back last year in February, they saw dozens of fatalities in the entire state. Virtually about 4 million customers lost electricity because the power grid couldn't handle the cold. This time around, authorities have kind of made the tweaks they need to.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
This morning, a blast of life-threatening Arctic air and a so-called bomb cyclone are joining forces to create a travel nightmare. Parts of major highways shut down due to blizzard conditions, including hundreds of miles of I-90. Cars and trucks sliding off the roads, deadly crashes in multiple states. Near zero visibility here in Wyoming, In South Dakota, where an emergency was declared overnight, this shelter opened for drivers rescued from stranded cars. And now, parts of upstate New York bracing for up to 4 feet of snow.
Flooding at times across I-95, where winds could exceed 50 to 60 miles an hour in both sectors. So that means trees down and power outages as well. And where it doesn't snow, that rain could flash freeze because these temperatures are going to drop so suddenly.
Things not much better at the airports. More than 2,000 flights have already been canceled today.
It's pretty crazy. It is indeed.
Right now, it's terrible. It's been awful.
Chicago and Denver airports hit the hardest. More than a quarter of arrivals canceled. At one point, the average delay at O'Hare, more than 2.5 hours. De-icing spray and high demand. Temperatures in Denver plunging more than 70 degrees in a matter of hours. Nosediving from 50 degrees to negative.
Much later.
Already chaos at the airports. This is New York. For many, it should have been the first normal Christmas after COVID. But across the country, thousands of flights have been cancelled. Some people have been forced to abandon their plans to travel, while others are scrambling to find another way to get to their families.
Flustered. We're trying to search on our phones, figure out other routes, maybe even taking a bus from here to Atlanta, which it'll take us about 21 hours, so that's really inconvenient, but anything we can do just to get there, what we're going to do.
President Biden has urged people to take extreme care.
This is really a very serious weather alert here, and it goes from Oklahoma all the way to Wyoming and Wyoming to Maine, and it's a real consequence. So I encourage everyone, please heed the local warnings.
The rapidly deepening low-pressure system will bring snow, strong winds, ice and frigid conditions all the way from Canada to the deep south, including Texas and the border with Mexico. The Midwest will be particularly badly hit, where it could be the coldest Christmas since the 1980s. Even Florida, the Sunshine State, will experience temperatures well below freezing. In New York, intense blizzards are expected to last for several days. Americans are being advised to travel earlier than planned or hunker down for Christmas. Peter Bowes, BBC News.
Well, Trooper Eric Foster.
This is how legends are born.